Whether you're picking and grinning or just grinning, grab a drink, pull up a seat. It's time for Roots Music Rambler. Turn it up.
So, have you heard the news?
What news?
I mean, could I be any more vague? Well, it's news that about broke my daughter's heart. Can you guess?
Lovejoy broke up.
Ding, ding, ding.
Really?
Ding.
Oh my goodness, I guessed this.
You sure did.
Oh my goodness, what happened?
Okay, well, I need more details before I make a judgment. So, okay, and first of all, the breakup, like Lucia just saw something about it on TikTok. Like, yeah. I've been checking Lovejoy's Instagram and there's nothing about it. So I don't know what the whole story is. So according to TikTok, Lovejoy is breaking up. And this comes after allegations were brought against Wilbur Soot, the frontman of Lovejoy, of like abuse by a former partner. And a lot of this information, too, is coming from Lucia. So, of course, it's filtered through her bias. So Lucia's all upset. Everyone on TikTok wants to cancel Lovejoy and Wilbur Soot. And I can't, I don't know. I don't have enough information. And we still have yet to receive confirmation that Lovejoy is, in fact, breaking up.
Okay. So let me kind of restate what you just said to me in a way that I think we can get away with.
Okay.
So there's a TikTok rumor going around that Lovejoy is breaking up, and it has to do with allegations against Wilbur Soot, the frontman, that have to do with a past relationship. And that's probably about all we can get away with saying, because we don't know any facts. We don't know anybody's perspective. You can go out on the internet and read all the crap you want about it, but if it is true that Lovejoy is breaking up, I'm not even talking about the Wilbur thing, because that's more legalities and allegations, and we don't need to get into the weeds there. But if in fact Lovejoy is breaking up, it's certainly unfortunate for Lovejoy fans, including your daughter. So my heart goes out to her. I hope it's not true, or if it is true, I hope that the pieces fall where they may.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sad. I was trying to think about it. Like, if my favorite band that I absolutely love and just one day said, "Oh, that's it, we're done," I'd probably be heartbroken. Yeah. So, it's first Boy Genius split up, now Lovejoy. I don't know what's going to happen to Lucia. Her head might explode.
She needs to get some more reliable favorite artists, I think, is probably what the thing is. Well, of course, in today's age, who the hell knows? I mean, everybody seems to have a skeleton in their closet and they keep coming out. So who knows? Well, hopefully all of the affected parties are safe and happy and figure this thing out so that everybody lives happily ever after. I don't ever want any of that, negatory stuff to drag people down. So hopefully it all works out. And if, Lovejoy stays together in some form or fashion, fine. If not, normally what happens when bands like that break up, the members go off and do other things. I mean, so maybe there'll be something better that comes out of it. You never know. Welcome to Roots Music Rambler. She's Frank.
He's Fall.
And we're rambling on through the stories behind the music we love. Today on the show, we talked to Brit Taylor, who I caught up with at a recent show. Her album, Kentucky Bluegrassed, which is a bluegrass version of her album Kentucky Blue, which came out last year, is actually climbing the Americana charts. So I believe it's up to number 20 the week that we're recording this on the Americana charts, which is fantastic. It's only technically her third album. And again, it's a bluegrass version of her previous album. Not all of the songs one for one are covered, but it's basically bluegrass covers of the Kentucky Blue album. So she was performing at the Burl in Lexington, Kentucky a few weeks ago. And Katie and I, my daughter and I, jumped in the car and went down to see her. And we happened to get there early. So I got to talk to her, got to interview her after sound check, got to watch sound check, which was phenomenal. We basically got a private concert. There wasn't anybody else really in there except me and Katie. And so we talked to her, and that's fantastic. It was actually a really interesting evening. I guess we should go. I should probably go into details about the evening.
And well, yeah, because I don't know if I know why it was interesting.
Okay, so here's the nuts and bolts of it. I had arranged for a pre-show interview with Brit through her publicity people.
Right.
And I was very excited about that. She's from Hindman, Kentucky, which is not too far in the mountains of Eastern Kentucky where I'm from. This album the Kentucky Blue album was produced by Sturgill Simpson. She has written some songs with Dan Auerbach from the Black Keys. So she's a Kentucky gal who's starting to make connections and make her way in the world. I was really excited to get to go see her, and I knew it was the second stop on her new tour to support this new bluegrass version of the album. And so I was really excited. The album, Kentucky Blue, is very good. I highly recommend it. It was one of the WFPK top albums of 2023. And then now she's done this bluegrass version of it. And the songs are fantastic. It's very, very well done. So I go take my daughter, Katie. We go down to Lexington, which is about an hour away from where I live. And we get there really early. They tell us, when you get to the borough, ask for this person. So I know where, the stage is and everything. So I kind of walk up to the door and it's open. And so we walk in and I ask the sound person, whoever's there, I'm supposed to ask for this person. And they say, oh, that's our social media person. She's not even here. And I said, well, we're supposed to interview Brit before the show. Can we just hang out? I said, yeah, sure. No problem. So Katie and I sit there and it's basically the band on stage doing sound check, playing almost every song that they needed to play. And me and Katie are the only people in the audience. So we're getting this private show. So that's the first piece of the weird evening.
Okay.
Because as we're sitting there watching Brit Taylor and her band perform, I turn over my shoulder and someone has walked in. So now there's a third person in the venue. And I look over my shoulder and it's Silas House, who, for those of you who haven't connected those dots, he's the poet laureate of Kentucky. He is the writer and Grammy-nominated, producer, director, writer of Tyler Childers' In Your Love video. So he's standing there, and I immediately just instinctually turned around, introduced myself, told him who I was, told him why I was there. We start having this conversation, and Katie is kind of looking back. She's watching Brit perform, so she's kind of looking back like, what? Who's Dad talking to? And I turn around and I walk over to her before she really gets a good look at Mr. House. And I leaned in, I said, Katie, that's Silas House. And I'm not sure, but she may have peed herself. So now my daughter's a book nerd. Now, she didn't really pee herself. I'm sure she'll be embarrassed that I said that. My daughter's a book nerd.
No, we get the sentiment.
Yeah. So my daughter's a book nerd. She loves writers. She loves authors. She knows exactly who Silas House is. And as soon as she looked a little bit further beyond me and was like, oh my goodness, like she kind of lost it for a little bit. And so I just said, come here. And so I grabbed her by the arm and pulled her over. And I said, Silas, this is my daughter, Katie. She loves books, da-da-da-da. And he was like, well, hey, Katie, it's nice to meet you. And they just had this great conversation. He was absolutely as cool as you think he would be. And so we sat there and chatted. And then, of course, when Brit and her husband, Adam, who's her bass player, when the band gets done, they come off and they're talking to Silas. And Brit's mom is there. She's putting little blue candles up all over the venue. So it's me and my daughter, and we're standing there talking to Brit Taylor and Adam Chafin, I think is his last name, and her mom. And there's another lady there who I think is maybe her aunt or one of her mom's friends or something like that. And that's the only people that were there. We were just chatting. And it was just so surreal. And then as I got an opportunity in the conversation to introduce myself to Brit, I said, she said, oh yeah, you're the guy who came to do the interview. And I said, yeah. And she said, where do you want to do it? I said, we can do it right here. I don't care. So while the warm-up act was setting up for their sound check, I was able to get a few minutes talking to Brit about her new album and the tour and all sorts of other things. And so that's what's on the show today. I did not get a chance to talk to Silas officially on the record, but I did. This is the other surreal thing that happened. And then I'll stop, telling the story. At one point, he said, well, so what's your podcast? And I said, Roots Music Rambler. And he pulls out his phone. He opens up Spotify and he searches for it. He goes, is this it? And I said, yeah, that's it. And I watched him hit the subscribe button. So Silas House subscribes to our podcast. I got his contact information, said, hey, we'd love to have you on the show, you and your partner, Jason, to talk about the video and the Grammy experience and all that kind of stuff.
Everything.
And so I don't know if that's going to happen, but we've been in contact. So hopefully he'll be on the show at some point. But yeah, it was for a Kentucky boy, it was a super, super surreal experience. And then having my daughter there was even a bonus because she was just, on cloud nine all night. It was great.
That's wonderful. And I think we can file that under achievement unlocked.
Yeah.
Is that what the kids say these days?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a big W right there.
Yeah, I was a pretty cool dad that night. So
I'm sure.
Pretty neat.
The coolest.
And we walked across before, so we did all that. That happened before the damn show. Right? We hadn't even seen the damn concert yet. So that happens, and we walked across the street in the distillery district there in Lexington. The borough is right across the railroad tracks from kind of this distillery district complex with restaurants and bars and stuff. Okay. So we walked over and got a pizza at Goodfellas, which is notorious for the Dave, the dude from Barstool Sports. Portnoy. Dave Portnoy notoriously gave Goodfellas in Lexington a 0.0 on his scale.
Oh.
He later changed it because they apologized and made good and everything, but it was kind of funny when it happened. So we went over, we had a slice of Goodfellas pizza, and then we went to Crank and Boom, which is a handcrafted ice cream store there in Lexington, and had ice cream, and then we sat around the fire pit, and then we went to the show. And then Kindred Valley goes on. They are the opener, and they're from Huntington, West Virginia. And I walk over at one point, they're really good, by the way, and I want to have them on the show at some point too. Mm-hmm. I walk over to the merch table, and the lady behind the merch table, I said, are you a mom? And she said, yes, I am. The lead singer is my son. And I said, well, you guys are fantastic. And I introduced her, and I said, are you guys from Huntington? And they said, yeah, we're from the Huntington area. And I said, well, I was originally born in Logan, West Virginia, and I have relatives there. And I say, do you know of Judge O'Brien? My uncle was the circuit judge in Logan for like 40 years.
Oh, wow.
She turns to her husband and says, he's been a probate clerk for 30 years. He's worked for him. I was like, wow. Oh my God. So
that is so crazy.
Yeah. It was just one of these just out of the weird blue mist of Kentucky, just surreal nights, and everything fell in place, and we had a blast, and it was great. And the conversation that we had with Brit was fantastic, and we get to hear it here on the show today.
All right.
That's coming up. You're going to hear Brit Taylor talk about her climbing the charts album, Kentucky Bluegrassed.
And also on the show, we're going to do our normal Pick in the Grinnin' segment. We'll share our picks for whose music is making us grin. Might be new artists, might be old, but of course they will be good. Before we get into that, though, before we kick it all off, last time we talked, I shared my experience at the Jason Isbell concert at the Salt Shed in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So I know you just got to see Jason Isbell for the first time. Mm-hmm. So what was that like?
Well, it was fantastic, and it was fantastic for a couple reasons. And I feel like this is like Jason's brag day on the show, and I don't mean it to sound that way. But thinking back to what you said about your experience watching Isbell, and we talked specifically last time around about how you saw him or thought he looked sad after he was playing, particularly Cover Me Up and When We Were Vampires, which he also played at our show, obviously in light of his recent announcement of divorce from Amanda Shires. I almost got the exact opposite experience because he was completely into the show. After every song and the applause started, he smiled and thanked the crowd and waved. And it seemed like he had a lot of gratitude for everybody who was there. He seemed like he was in a really good mood. It was Oscar night when that happened, and he didn't do as much back and forth banter. Karen has seen him several times, and she said he didn't do as much storytelling or back and forth banter as he normally does. But there was, at one point he said, I think there's a guy in the front row watching the Oscars, and he wasn't even in the movie nominated for Best Picture. So that was kind of funny. But I was absolutely blown away. The band was amazing. He was amazing. They sounded great. They played everything I wanted them to play. He didn't play any of his Drive-By Trucker stuff, which I know everybody was disappointed in. But he played my favorite song, which is Super 8, and then he played all the others that you would expect him to play. And it was just a great show. It really was a great show. Now, the bragging part, Karen and I thought we had good seats. We thought we had second row seats. Yeah, row B at the Victory Theater in Evansville is the first row. So we were on the front damn row, and I mean, I could have thrown a paper wad and hit him in the face, and it was just awesome being up that close.
That's really awesome.
Yeah, it was.
That's so cool. And, back to my experience when, seeing him just a couple of weeks ago, I don't know that he looked sad, but he definitely looked emotional.
Sure.
Sure. And he has, I don't know if you follow him on Threads, but he posted something, and I don't know if it was the same day as your show or right around there, but he posted something on Threads and said that he's really vulnerable right now and really fragile.
Yeah,
fragile. That's the
yeah.
word that he used. But every night he goes out and plays, he feels like everybody is wrapping their arms around him and just really there to help him get through this. And okay, I'm a brag right now. So I replied to his thread and said, it's our turn to care for you, or whatever I don't recall my exact words, but I said, it's our turn to support you,
Right.
As a way of saying thank you for all these years that your music helped us get through, rough times or whatever. And what I wrote was way more eloquent than what I just, what I just muttered. But I got like several hundred likes on my reply, including from Mr. Isbell himself.
Very nice.
So, but I meant it though.
Yeah.
Like I didn't do it for the likes. Like
Sure.
I really meant it. And I know so many people who turned their lives around after hearing Jason Isbell for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, I will say this, seeing him live for the first time, I'm sure being up close had a lot to do with it, but easily top 2 or 3 concerts I've ever seen. I was just really blown away. It was a great show. Joan Shelley, who is a folk artist from here in Louisville, opened up for him. Her husband, Nathan, I can't remember Nathan's last name, but he plays a vicious guitar. And they were fantastic. It was just a really all around a good night. And he was, I would definitely say he was emotional in the songs that you would expect him to be emotional in. But he seemed very happy on stage.
Yeah.
He was smiling a lot. He was smiling after every song. He was very thankful for the crowd. I think, he's probably in a good mood because it was Oscar night. He mentioned that the people in Evansville were really good to him and made a big cake, and they had cake before the show that was awesome. And so he seemed like he was just in a really good mood and really into it. And so that made it all the better.
Was the cake just because, or because it was Oscar night?
I don't know. He
okay.
just mentioned, they made us a cake and it was really good. Normally they bring you cake and it's just kind of, and this one was good cake and we liked the cake. And so it was fun. And the 400 unit, God damn, those folks, they're good. They're just good.
I mean, Sadler is awesome. Chad Gamble, phenomenal. But I have a special place in my heart for Derry DeBorja. He is a former member of Sunvolt.
Oh, really?
So I saw him. Yeah, I saw him so many times with Sunvolt.
Nice.
And then when I met Derry, which just so happens to be the same night that I met my husband, Tom, I told him, like, I can't believe I'm seeing you again with a different band and blah, 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 and Sunvolt. And this was after I had probably 24 beers.
Sure.
So, who knows what else I said. But anyway, I do love me some Derry DeBorja.
Well, we were stationed right in front of him. So that was probably, there wasn't a negative about the evening, but if there was something that was slightly disappointing, maybe it was that we couldn't see the whole band because we were right in front of his keys, right? So we couldn't see the drums. We didn't see everybody, but I'm not complaining because we were so lucky to be where we were. And again, it was such a great show. So that was just
awesome.
Fun.
I'm glad you guys got to see your first Isbell show, and you and Karen got to experience it together.
Yep. And Monday we were drag-assing. Oh man, that was rough. It's a little over 2-hour drive to Evansville, and we came back right after the show. And I get up early to go to work on Mondays. Yeah, that was terrible. Anyway, we're sipping on a bourbon, and I'm out. So we're going to take a quick break for a refill. Take a moment, if you will, and listen to more about the awesome sponsors that help make the show happen, including Musk Ox Flannels. They're buttery soft and built like a tank, just like me. When we come back, we're going to hear my conversation with Brit Taylor from just the front end of her Kentucky Bluegrass tour. She's now climbing the Americana charts. That LP is up to number 20 on the album charts the week we're recording this. The single St. Anthony, which we'll play a clip from as we come back from the break, is in the top 50 Americana singles as well. And we talked to her just before the climb started happening. So we're good luck, of course. Don't go away. This is Roots Music Rambler. Hey, Ramblers, I have experienced a revolution in sound in my house, and you can too. The revolution is driven by Sonos. The Sonos wireless music system lets you play any song in any room, control it all with the Sonos app on your phone or tablet. Sonos has all the connections to give you millions of songs and stations, including connecting to your iTunes, your Spotify, Pandora, and more. Get a wireless Sonos player and hear the sound quality difference. Then get one for all the rooms in your house where you listen, but might be out of reach of the stereo or Bluetooth speaker you normally use. So I've got one in my bedroom and bathroom for when I get ready in the morning. I've got one in the kitchen and living room for when I'm hanging out with friends. And then down here in the office den for when I'm working or setting up for another episode of the show. I happen to like the Sonos Move, which is one of the speaker models. I can put it out on my patio for cookouts. It's a weather-resistant design, has an 11-hour battery life, so I don't need to plug it in out there when I have people over for cookouts or tailgates or whatever. And I can play music on all or just a few of the speakers, so I never lose my jams going from room to room. Try the Move and hear the difference, then hook up all the rooms in your house for an excellent listening experience while you move around cleaning or dancing or whatever you do in the privacy of your own home. Listen to Roots Music Rambler on it, for God's sakes. It makes me sound even more handsome. Go to rootsmusic.link/Sonos, S-O-N-O-S, rootsmusic.link/Sonos. That'll take you right to the Sonos Move speaker page to purchase. I highly recommend it, and you'll love how much better your music and podcasts sound. Go to rootsmusic.link/Sonos. That's rootsmusic.link/Sonos. Hey, gang, I was not a flannel guy until I found Muskox flannels. Now I don't want to wear anything else. Well, I mean pants, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so Muskox is a premium flannel shirt that comes in various colors and styles, but also all season or heavy. So they have different weights and thicknesses. They even have sizes that fit big boys like me. Now, Frank, I hear the ladies like the flannel look. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. So one Muskox flannels customer actually said they are buttery soft, but built like a tank. I resemble that remark, especially when I'm wearing my Muskox flannels. They also, by the way, give $10 of every $100 order to support wildlife conservation. So you're doing some good for the earth and the animals on it with every purchase. Visit gomuskox.com/Rambler, browse the collection and get you some buttery soft, built like a tank premium flannels. Make sure you use the code Rambler, all caps, and get the discount on your order. That's gomuskox.com/Rambler. Use the code Rambler, buttery soft, yo. That might be my new hashtag.
If you think the bottom of a 40-rod jug is what's gonna hurt your head, you just wait until you get back home, 'cause you ain't seen nothing yet. There's a whole lot of numbers in Rockcastle County, and every one of them's been run. I know damn well what you're out there doing, just don't know where you're getting it done. St. Anthony, won't you please hear my prayer? My baby tied on whiskey wings flew off to God knows where. St. Anthony.
That was the single climbing the Americana charts right now from Brit Taylor. As we told you in the first part of the show, I caught up with her before a recent stop at the Burl in Lexington, Kentucky to chat. Here's our conversation with Brit Taylor. So, Brit, this new Kentucky Bluegrassed album is obviously a bluegrass version of Kentucky Blue. What was the inspiration behind sort of making it a bluegrass album? Was it just something you always wanted to do, or did the idea come to you after doing the country version?
It's definitely something that I've always wanted to do, but I didn't think that I would do it so quickly. I thought that it would be something that would happen a few years from now, way later. But I'm trying. I made a promise to myself when I kind of quit Music Row to just start listening to my gut instincts when I get these little nodes from my angels and the universe that I'll follow them. And Adam and I were just on tour, and we were driving down the road, and it just popped in my head, you should make a bluegrass version of Kentucky Blue and call it Kentucky Bluegrass. Well, it popped in my head and out of my mouth, and I told Adam, and he was like, no. And I was like, no? And he's like, you should call it Kentucky Bluegrassed. Yes. And I was like, oh my God, we're doing it. I text my manager, and he was like, hell yeah, let's do that. And it all happened, and 30 Tigers got behind it. I mean, I've never had a project happen so fast ever. Usually record, like we recorded Kentucky Blue in 21. It doesn't come out until 23.
Yeah.
Like we recorded this last May, and it's out. So it happened really fast, and the energy was all there, and I love it.
Well, and it's gotta be good timing too, because you got it out so fast, and Kentucky Blue is still doing really well, selling really well. People are listening to it, and now there's this immediate follow-up. That's got to be cool.
It's so cool, and I felt like, I've just started releasing records in 2020. I've been in Nashville for a really long time, and been doing music my whole life for a really long time, but I felt like that record didn't connect as much with the roots scene on streaming services, like with the playlists or the audience, or like even when it says artists like, I just felt like it wasn't pushing me to some of the people I know would want to hear that. And I felt like you can't really mistake this record for anything other than roots, bluegrass, string, organic music. So I was like, if this don't get them, I don't know what will. So I was really hoping to just find a new crowd that the record had not been pushed to yet, and drive them back to that record and really celebrate that record, because I feel like I worked so hard on it, and so did Sturgill. Simpson produced it, and David Ferguson. I was like, this will be a good opportunity to remarket that record and market a completely new project and have a really good time doing it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's obviously working out. How was it working with Sturgill? He's producing a lot of great people these days, and you're one of them.
Man, Sturgill's awesome. I don't think I've ever been so nervous to meet another human ever, because there's so much press, and so many people have said this or that. Like, I just didn't know what to expect, because I'm getting so many different stories. But he was awesome. He was just cool, and one of the most encouraging, chill. He was just chill, and he was just very encouraging. Like, I don't know how many times he said, this is your record. What do you want? What do you want? Like, some producers are like, this is what it is, and that's how it's going to be. But him and, Ferg, like, really wanted my input, and we all picked songs together, and it was just fun. Sturgill's awesome.
It's good. Well, my daughter Katie's here with me tonight, and I think she knows what it's like to be really nervous meeting someone, because Silas House walked in to listen to sound check, and she's a book nerd, so that was fun.
Oh my God, isn't he incredible? I was nervous too when I saw him walk in, and I'm such a fan, and it's just, Kentucky is awesome. There's so much talent in this state that it's just ridiculous. Like, and the Burl by itself, like, you just walk in, like, I got goosebumps talking about it right now. Like, you just walk in and you feel goodness. Like, you feel good vibes, good spirits are roaming around here, and good music, and I'm just grateful to be here.
One of the first things I said to Katie when we walked in was, she's taking a selfie in front of the stained glass. I knew it.
Yeah, you have to. That's the first thing you do when you're on stage.
So you grew up did you grow up in Hindman? I know you were born there. Did you grow up there?
I was born in Pikeville. There ain't no, there's no.
High five.
Yeah, there's no hospital in Hindman. So it's either you going to Pikeville or Hazard or maybe Wattsburg.
I'm glad you did Pikeville. That's where I'm
from. So Pikeville, and I did grow up in Knott County, right off of Route 80.
Right, very good. Well, there's some pretty successful people born in Pikeville. I mean, Dwight, Patty, a couple other folks.
Oh, it's just ridiculous. I tell everybody too, like, for as much talent that we know of that came out of Kentucky that are famous and made it, there's that much talent just sitting around that don't care if anybody ever knows their name.
Oh, yeah.
Like, just fine with picking on the front porch with their family and their buddies, and they're just as talented. Like, the talent is crazy in that part of the state.
Yeah,
like,
well, that's one of the good things about social media and TikTok, because a couple of those people are popping up there, and that's pretty cool. So I want to ask you about your roots as they relate to music. I obviously know where Knott County is, been there plenty of times. I know the music you probably heard growing up, but who was it that introduced you to music? How did you really kind of catch that bug?
I think it was my Papa Hillard. He loved bluegrass, and he loved Patty Loveless and Ricky Skaggs, and I'm pretty sure that was like the gateway drug into country music. And I just fell in love with it. My parents really didn't listen to country music. They were listening to rock and Journey and Fleetwood Mac, which I also love. That's fine. But I was kind of the oddball in my family. Like, nobody really played music or really even went to concerts or listened to a lot of music. But, I was always fighting over the radio, and it had to be on 93.1 because that was a country station back home. But yeah, Papa just introduced me to bluegrass, and then I found country and fell in love with it.
You're not going to believe this. When I was 14 years old, my first job was a Friday night DJ on 93.1.
That is crazy.
It was 92.1 back then, but they switched frequencies after they acquired a station. Anyway, all right. So I know that you had some initial success in Nashville, and then things kind of went south. But then somehow you ended up with Dan Auerbach writing music. How did that happen?
I have a buddy that I had auditioned for this television show. I'm trying to tell the short version of this in like West Virginia or Virginia or somewhere. And I didn't get the TV show because I was not 18 yet. And he told me, he was like, call me when you get to Nashville. I'm going to introduce you to folks. I'll help you get started. So 2 years later, I was like, or a year later, I was like, all right, I moved to Nashville. What am I supposed to do? And he kind of got me started, introduced me to people. And then I kind of went my own way, took off and running, went to college, signed a publishing deal that ended up going south 4 years later. So I'm in Nashville for 10 years at this point. I called this same guy that I haven't talked to since I moved to town, pretty much, just here and there. And I was like, man, I think it's time to go home. I think it's time to pack my bags and go home. Like, literally, this is when everything's supposed to be happening for me, and everything just fell apart. Like, the band broke up. I quit my publishing deal. I'm just done. And he said, let me take you to lunch. I'm in Nashville because he lives in L.A. Takes me to lunch. I pour my heart out, and he took me that evening to meet David Ferguson. And then Ferg took me over to meet Dan Auerbach. And then we started writing songs together, and he was the first person that listened to some songs that I was writing from Music Row and was like, all right, like, okay, but what are your influences? And I was like, Patty Loveless, Ricky Skaggs, and Dwight Yoakam, and Bobby Gentry. And he just looked at me like, well, why are you writing songs like that? And I was like, well, I've been on Music Row for the last how many years, and I've been told when I turn in a waltz, they're like, oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to work. That's dated. Like, how about you write something like this? And he said, well, how about you stop listening to Music Row and let's write you something that you want to sing? And so we wrote 8 songs in 2 days. And I ended up putting 4 of them on that first record, Real Me, which we also wrote together. We wrote Real Me. And he's just been a supporter, and I really credit him to me, like, giving me the confidence to actually like do what I wanted to do. Like, I needed that permission for some reason. I know some people don't. Margot never needed that permission from anybody. She's so tough and strong, and I love her for it. But I think that I did. I needed it, and he gave it to me.
That's fantastic. Well, as people can hear, the opening act is getting ready to warm up here, so we're going to let you go. And I know you got to get ready for the show tonight. So much goodness coming out of you and your band. I love this album. I love the previous 2 albums, and we're honored to have you. And I'm brought my daughter down here to watch you jam tonight, so we're going to have a good time.
Thank you so much for having me.
There you go, my chat with Brit Taylor before her Kentucky Bluegrassed tour stop at the Burl in Lexington. Since we didn't get to talk to her as long as normal, we also didn't get to hear as many cuts. So let's go to break with one and come back with another. We'll send you to the break right now with Anything But You. When we come back, you'll hear a little Rich Little Girls. Don't go away. Picking the Grinnin' is next. Let's go to break with a little Anything But You from Brit Taylor. This is Roots Music Rambler.
Anything but you. rich little girls spend daddy's money. Everything's always pretty and sunny in their perfect world. Well, I'm out working my fingers to the bone, hoping this card keeps hanging on. And there ain't no bank just handing out loans to a working girl.
There you go. How about that? Brit Taylor. Fantastic night. She's climbing the charts, and her husband, Adam Chafin, I think now I've remembered his last name correctly. They're on tour with that band. If you have the opportunity to go see her play, please do. And if you haven't heard the album yet, go check it out on Spotify. We'll put links in the show notes. She's fantastic. We love her. We're glad to have her on. And man, it was fun getting to talk to her. So glad y'all get to hear that. It is time on the program each week where we talk about the picks that we have that are making us grin. Recommendations for you might be old music, might be new music, might be something you've heard and haven't heard in a while, might be something you've never heard of. So we're going to start out with Francesca. Tell me about your picks for grinning this week.
So this past weekend, I went to a show at the Hideout in Chicago, which is another one of those really legendary music venues in the city. And it was the unofficial South by Southwest send-off party for the Chicago artists who were traveling down to Austin to perform at the festival and, the various showcases, official shows, unofficial shows, what have you. So I went with my friend Lindsay, and it was an all-day thing. I don't even remember how many bands, maybe 5, 6. So we saw the first band when we got there, the first band we saw is called Smushy, and they were so fun. And then Riley Downs and the Acid Cowboys played after that. So I've seen Riley a few times now, and I know of her because of Nathan Graham. Her husband, Cody, used to play with Nathan. Now, Cody he may have had this band for a long time, but I just learned of them. They're called Sparkle Carcass. And so he also plays in Riley's band, and they were really good. Riley is like this little thing, and when she sings, her voice just it's hard to imagine this voice coming out of this little human. Okay. And it's great though. And they covered Wicked Game by Chris Isaak. Nice. So that was cool. And then she covered something about what happens when we talk. That's the line. It's a Lucinda Williams song. It's one of her older ones and always one of my favorites. And when she started playing it, because I hadn't heard it in so long, it took me a second. And I'm like, and I was with my friend Lindsay, and we kind of looked at each other. We're like, wait, we know this song. And it took a couple of minutes for it to register, but it was fantastic. Also, the Waco Brothers played. They're one of those bands that have been around Chicago for decades. John Langford is in the band, and he's done so many things, other projects, and he is hysterical. The guy I just adore him. But the one band that I really want to talk about from that day is called Cabeza de Chivo.
Okay. Cabeza de Chivo.
Cabeza de Chivo, which means head of the goat. I didn't know what to expect from these guys, right? So, but I'm into different cultures. I'm a Spanish teacher. So I see the name of the band. I see the people in the band, and I'm like, yes, all right, we're going to get some Latin music. I'm down with this. It was anything but.
Okay.
So they refer to it as tropical psychedelic. I think that's the phrase that they use to describe their music. Huh. There definitely is Latin influence. You could hear the cumbia underneath it all, and it's mostly instrumental. So, man, they were loud, and it was so much fun. And then it was fun watching them. And there's a keys player who also plays the guitar, and he's left-handed, and he's just insane. But it was kind of fun too to look around the room at all the people. When I say that one of their descriptors is psychedelic, that's what I saw as I was looking around the room. People just with their eyes closed, swaying this way and that.
Nice.
But it was really, really entertaining, very enjoyable. And I would like to see them again. And now that I have a little better idea of what they're all about, because like I said, I really had no idea what to expect.
Okay.
But it was a lot of fun.
Head of the goat, huh?
Head of the goat.
Well, say what's the name of the band again?
Cabeza de Chivo.
Cabeza de Chivo. All right. I can pronounce things in Spanish. I don't know what I'm saying, but Cabeza de Chivo. All right. Speaking of, by the way, I have not stopped seeing Hermanos Gutierrez. Since you brought them up on the show, they're in my feed. They were produced by Dan Auerbach,
Yes.
And his studio, the One Eye Studios or whatever it's called, they advertise, and I get all their ads in my Facebook feed. So I've seen the ads for these guys nonstop since you recommended them. So recommend winning lottery numbers so I can get those. That'd be great.
Right?
But
Well,
yeah.
you know, they're listening to us, though. See, that's
They are.
why.
They are.
New.
Big Brother's coming in. So yeah, Hermanos Gutierrez, and I've listened to a couple of their songs too. They're really fascinating, really good. Instrumental, yes.
Yeah.
I was not watching them, so I did not need to grab both sides of my panties to keep them from dropping. But I listened to a few songs there from Hermanos Gutierrez.
You don't even need to look at them. It's just the whole vibe. It's like,
I've never heard music that made me want to take my pants off.
well, you're a dude, but
No,
whatever. I mean,
okay, fair.
most dudes, I mean, you breathe and you want to take your pants off. So I don't know.
No, all right. I can't deny. Okay. My time for my pick.
What's
to
your
change
pick?
that damn subject. So, of course, everybody who's listened to this show for any length of time knows that 90% of my music knowledge comes from my girlfriend, Karen. And she is really into a newer artist called Logan Ledger. And,
Oh, yeah.
and Logan Ledger, we listened to, I kind of binged all of his stuff a couple of days ago as we were, piddling around the house, and really, really good.
Yeah.
This guy, I'll describe what I think his sound sounds like. He sounds like the first 2 or 3 cuts I heard, if I didn't know any better, I would think this was a greatest hits album from somebody in the 1970s.
Yes.
He sounds like 70s country singer. So if you like old school country, Logan Ledger, look him up. You're going to love it. It's really, really good stuff. But even if you're not into 70s country, just like good country sound, alt country sound, he's great. He really is good. His latest album, Golden State, was released last year, produced by Shooter Jennings. So that says something right there. And then he's got another album, self-titled Logan Ledger from 2020. Yeah, I'm digging him. And so we need to make sure everybody out there on the show gives Logan Ledger a listen because he's very good. Karen recommended him, and I definitely agree. He's worth listening to.
I second that. I'm not a Logan Ledger expert or anything, but what I have heard, I've enjoyed. And I think your description of like 70s country is pretty accurate.
Yeah. That's Karen's big thing is like she likes Don Williams and those kind of 70s, country singers. And yeah.
Harry Nilsson.
Yeah. She was very excited about him. And so there you go.
Awesome.
Logan Ledger, go check him out. All right. Is there anything else I want to recommend? No. Oh, by the way, I got some new Roots Music Rambler stickers.
I need to get me some.
I'm gonna send you some of these. We got just they look like the show cover art.
Nice.
So they're not on the store yet. I got to figure out how to put them on the store so everybody else can get them. But I got a few extra to send to Frank there so she can go, plaster them on the walls of bars in Chicago.
Well, and I'm going to so many shows now. Like, you could be passing them out. It could be like our business card.
Exactly. Well, it's passing them out, but also sticking them on the bathroom stalls. That's where I put them. I go in every bathroom I go in, I stick one somewhere. So, which is
vandalism.
Which is the best thing I've done in a bathroom in a long time.
On that note,
Roots Music Rambler is a production of Falls and Partners, copyright 2024. Our theme music is Sheepskin and Beeswax by Gentacorum. Join us online at rootsmusicrambler.com. Make sure you mash that subscribe or follow button so you remember to join us for the next hoedown and throwdown. She's Frank.
he's Falls.
And whatever you do, kids, ramble on.